Well, there's something strange in the neighborhood. Who you gonna call? No! Skull Common here. So let's try tackling something a bit different, shall we? I'm not all familiar with the cartoon reviewers seen on YouTube, aside from some of the bigger names, and honestly, I'd like to spread my ghostly wings and try something different on here. Meet PhantomStrider, a popular cartoon-based YouTuber who's made a video talking about the top 10 worst cartoon remakes. For the majority of the video, I'm in actual agreement. However, there are two specific entries that I tilt my head at and question if he actually knows what he's talking about when it comes to, well, a remake. I'll be covering these two specific entries in this video, but before we do, we need to play a specific scene from the beginning of the video to establish what he considers a remake.
Alright, let's go. It's time to check out some time-honored classic cartoons, remade into disastrous train wrecks. When a cartoon gets remade, for some reason, it is standard practice to put it in the hands of people with absolutely no interest in the original cartoon.
Trust me, that will be important.
Extreme Ghostbusters, aka Ghostbusters Dark. You can tell it's good because it's extreme. Instead of getting the original cast like in the real Ghostbusters, this time we get a bunch of hip college kids who are so gnarly that they make me want to burn my local college down.
Classy, but before you continue, does this even qualify for your list? Extreme Ghostbusters is supposed to be a follow-up and sequel to the real Ghostbusters cartoon you just mentioned. Heck, the cast of the original Ghostbusters do appear in this and actually have people who reply as their voice actors as them do appear in this, and as well as give nods to the previous series. A remake is creating the new series with a different cast, or possibly using the same cast but having a different history, past, present, or different story-wise, but it doesn't have any connections to the previous entry. You bring up the 2016 movie later, and that's a remake/reboot since it holds no connections to the previous films, but this cartoon? No, it's not a remake or a reboot. It's a sequel because of the ties to the original series. Heck, the fact that Richard Reyes, one of the major players of the team that made up the real Ghostbusters, production and writing staff, was also on the writing staff for Extreme Ghostbusters, and since there are references to the original shows, such as the time that Egon entered the containment unit, the Grundlesque episode being a direct sequel to the Grundle episode, and the fact that the finale, Back in the Saddle, had the original cast, the real Ghostbusters, voice actors and all, return and team up with the new team. TLDR, this shouldn't be on the list.
Real slick, bro.
Who needs those old geezer original Ghostbusters when we have hip, cool college kids? Because, you know, if there's one thing we know, it's that no one misses the original Ghostbusters. Who needs them?
Like I said before, considering the fact that Egon plays a prominent role in the series and even goes on a few missions with some of the real deep character development in it, and there are times that the previous cast do make appearances in the show, comparing it to the 2016 film is kind of a stretch here. In addition, I love how you bring up the film nonchalantly as a slight comparison, when, as I've stated, the previous cartoon is actually acknowledged in a new one, and actually has tributes to it.
I don't mind a cartoon trying to change up the cast a bit, but they have to make the main characters such raging scumbags?
Back off, Eduardo! Why? She's legal?
This is something that utterly confuses me, since this is a scene that's supposed to show that one of the characters is a scumbag because of a joke. It comes off as you cherry-picking just to make a character look bad in your audience who hasn't actually seen the scene in full, where we have Kylie, possessed mind you, coming to Eduardo here, who is at first taken aback by the sudden attraction by the girl he knows, and then goes along with it. Heck, you could have used another clip from that same scene where Eduardo said, "You could stand to put on a few pounds," showing him to be a bit more shallow and actually reinforcing your point from him being a jerk. But him attempting to kiss a girl that all three of the guys in the scene you show know, and playing off the awkwardness with a joke, sure makes him look like a scumbag. My point is, this comes off as a rather piss-poor example when you actually know the context of the scene used to illustrate your point.
The only voice acting I liked was Egon, voiced by Maurice LaMarche, voice of Brain, and once again, the ever-lovely Kath Soucie, voicing Kylie.
What? No! Kylie's voiced by Tara Strong! At least in the English version, which I'm assuming that you're talking about. How do you screw that up?
But aside from that, Extreme Ghostbusters is just another shameless attempt to once again cash in on the Ghostbusters franchise.
So you jump from characterization to voice act, and then say it's a shameless attempt to cash in on the franchise. That's some grade A scripting right there and leaves a lot of questions to be asked. I feel this entry was just here on the list to capitalize on the debacle of the 2016 film. Otherwise, this entry right here sticks out like a sore thumb, since I already proved that it isn't a remake or a reboot. Now you could say it's capitalizing on the Ghostbusters name, but you sure as hell haven't convinced me that being the case. But since you failed to realize all the instances that prove that this isn't a remake, but rather a direct sequel, it makes me question you actually know what you're talking about with the series. Even more confusing, you actually bring up Egon, but that raises more questions if you even watch past the first 2 combined episodes. Ah, nuts. That's what you get for questioning a higher level YouTuber again.
And for number 7, The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Wait a minute! Hold up. How the bloody hell is this a remake? This was the very first Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. And yes, nitpickers, I did check the dates, and I am aware of Sonic Sat AM, but this cartoon debuted 3 months before Sonic Sat AM did. So therefore, it is the original Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. I admit, I'm jumping the gun. Let's just see his reasoning.
Did we go from this to this? Where's the relation between the two?
That's an adaptation you're describing. You guys can say I'm splitting hairs here, but he's the one who said the remakes of cartoons in his opening. He's going against his own criteria for what a remake is. Now, don't take this to mean I'm defending the show. I personally find it as mind-numbing as a good alcoholic drink to the skull. But that's not the point. The point being that he's blatantly going against the majority of what his list covers to talk about a show that shouldn't qualify for his very list.
When a cartoon gets remade, for some reason, it is standard practice to put it in the hands of people with absolutely no interest in the original cartoon.
Nowhere in his opening did he mention adaptations or like that. You could say he mentioned the original source material, but that's a very nebulous term in this case, and still doesn't negate the fact that he's talking about remakes about cartoons, which this entry shouldn't even qualify for as well.
Both have something that resembles a blue hedgehog.
I'm waiting.
Some people say that Sonic Underground is worse, but at least that had an original story and concept, and variety in their cast, and acceptable animation.
And that was an actual remake and reboot, and thus would have been more appropriate for your own criteria. It just boggles the mind and... Well, I lost my head, so I guess I'll be stopping there. Look, on the off chance that Phantom is actually watching, I don't hate you! And as a fellow ghost, I have a lot of respect for you, amassing quite a following that's impressive for the undead. And I agree with most of your list, but these 2 entries go against your entire premise of the video. But there are clear-cut differences between a remake and what these 2 entries are, i.e. a direct sequel that actually has proof of it being a direct sequel, and the other at best being an adaptation since the first Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, and thus cannot possibly be a remake of a previous cartoon. Look, I doubt you'll even see this video, Phantom. I'm just a minnow in a pond of bigger fish. But hey, whatever. I'm Skull coming. See you later, folks. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and share with your peers and... Oh, bugger.
Oh, hi Omina-san, this is Blue Flame Entertainment here, bringing you a little snippet of what you'll find if you come on over to my channel. On my channel I do video game walkthroughs and let's plays, as well as reviews on anime, manga, video games, and geek and nerd culture in general. The types of video games you will find on my channel are Tales of, Ace Attorney, Mega Man, Yokai Watch, and Pokemon. I hope you guys will come on over and check it out, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye everybody!